Episode 2, yeah. After a long wait, right? Fans have been demanding it. Back with Episode 2, yeah. After a long wait, right? Fans have been demanding it.
The hype is here. The hype is here.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, to tell you the truth, we kind of forgot about StoryBoardEm, and it appeared on our YouTube timelines quite recently, and we saw that there was some interaction over the past 3 years. Apparently, we had some people actually commenting, and some people dropping their own pictures. So we thought, really quite exciting. Let's jump back onto this. And so here you are, StoryBoardEm, the new and improved StoryBoardEm, should I say? So yeah, because it's been 3 years, maybe we should reintroduce ourselves. Cool. So I'm Muze, and my co-host is
Adam.
Cool. And yeah, when I said new rules, really what we've done is we've just streamlined the whole process. We've made it really simple set of rules to follow, and essentially there is a prompt up on the screen. The rules is as simple as follow that prompt. Each of us gets 10 minutes to give a pitch. And after those 10 minutes, you get 5 minutes to basically get feedback from the other person. And then, we'll sort of leave it to you guys in the comments to decide, who you think done better. If you have any feedback, how you would do your own, if there was any tweaks or changes you'd like to do to our pitches. And we just sort of see how we continue from there. Does that sound about right?
What we're looking for, guys, is tell us whose pitch was best, because that's what we want to know.
Yeah,
who won? Who lost?
Rights. Exactly.
That's what we want.
Yes. So as you can probably tell by what I've got up on screen right now, the prompt for StoryBoardEm Episode 2 is pitch a new Pirates of the Caribbean film starring Margot Robbie. So for those of you who don't know, Pirates of the Caribbean franchise recently announced that, yes, they're doing a 6th film, but this time it's with Margot Robbie. It's set in the same universe, but it's not necessarily a sequel to any of the previous films, and it's a standalone film, although it's set in the same universe. So,
have they announced this the same universe?
Yeah, they said it's set in the same universe.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Maybe I don't really think we need to fact check that. But
that's fine.
Yeah, as I said, I think Adam's going to go first, but before I hand it over to him, I guess it kind of goes without saying, if you guys have not seen the first 5 Pirates of the Caribbean films and you really plan on seeing it and you're really into it and you don't want to get spoiled, then I guess we've got a very mild spoiler alert, just in case anyone says anything. But yeah, other than that, I'm sort of happy to hand over to Adam and let him start.
Awesome, thanks, man.
Cool. 10 minutes on the clock, Adam.
Right, I'll get into it straight away. So my pitch isn't really based on it being a shared universe, but a little bit. Kind of, you'll see what happens. So basically, my film's going to be marketed as an independent film, without a link to Pirates of the Caribbean. So there's, in all the marketing and interviews and stuff, there's going to be no mention of Captain Jack Sparrow or Johnny Depp, Orlando Bloom, anything like that. It's going to be pretty much its own film, trying to be its own thing, is how it's going to be marketed. So we'll get straight into the story. So starting off, we're going to open in pretty much before the opening title screen. It's just going to open into a kind of Amazon-like jungle scene. And we see some expedition guys. Obviously, it's a pirate setting, so that kind of era. The muskets and swords kind of era. Some guys walking through the jungle. They're obviously reading from a map, trying to find something. Look a bit lost. And then they spot a building, kind of an ancient kind of Mayan, Inca kind of that kind of building. And then suddenly they get attacked by natives from that area of the world. So it'd be South America, somewhere like that. And we see there's obviously some fight goes on, and 2 guys kind of run off, we see them from behind, trying to get towards this building. And they kind of shooting behind them, and they manage to jump into this building, and the walls are close off, or they shut a gate, so they're kind of away from the fighting for a second. And we see the first 2 kind of main people in our film. So my first person I've cast is Christoph Waltz. Will be the first person you see in that scene, and he's obviously going to be dressed as a pirate. And the other person with him, who's going to be cast a long time, will be Giancarlo Esposito. So obviously that's a picture you recognise him from Mandalorian, and Christoph Waltz from obviously Django and Inglourious Basterds, such films. So we're going to see them, and then they turn around slowly, and they find that they're in a room filled with like gold, basically. So it's a kind of like El Dorado-ish feel to that. So then after that, we're going to pretty much that's going to happen. There'll be the bit of action, and then we'll see the title screen of Pirates of the Caribbean. Then we're basically going to have a skip forward in time, or a skip to a different scene. And then basically we're going to show our main character, who's going to be Margot Robbie. And basically what's going to be happening here is the pulling off. So my film's got to be a big feel of a heist movie, basically. So it's a pirate heist movie. So what we're going to open up with is Margot Robbie and a team of people pulling off a heist. So this is going to be like a basic heist, but the twist in this one is going to be, well, it's not much of a twist. It's going to be more of like what you'd see in the opening to The Dark Knight, where there's a team of pirates and they're pulling off a heist, but as they go through, they kind of all screwing each other over, and they all kind of get killed as they go along, essentially. And the last two people surviving, so we're going to have Margot Robbie and then her first mate on the ship, who is the kind of co-lead, male actor lead, will be Chris Pine, who I'm going to have in the movie as well. So Margot Robbie, Chris Pine are basically the leads on this movie. So they rob this place. Basically, the rest of their crew gets killed. They kind of screw them over. They don't really care about them. And they escape from this place they've just robbed. It's just a generic thing, gold or whatever. Escape on a ship. And then, so basically, this first setting is we see the ship where the most of the film is set on, which is going to be like a really cool pirate ship, similar to like the Black Pearl, what you'd imagine. And as they escape from this initial heist, we see someone watching them from the shore escaping, and that person will be Christoph Waltz, just watching them pull off the heist. But he's going to look a little bit older than he did in the opening, which shows like time has passed. And then basically we're going to see the ship. Then the next scene is the ship will like make port somewhere. There's going to be similar to somewhere like what you'd imagine as Tortuga from the original Pirates of the Caribbean. And then there're going to be some scenes of them kind of like being up with friends and like kind of selling the stuff they stole and making some money. And then as the kind of night winds on, Margot Robbie's like, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go back and stay on the ship for the night. And Chris Pine's like, okay, cool. I'll just like hang out here and stay here. And so as she goes back onto the ship, she finds obviously someone waiting there for her, and it's obviously Christoph Waltz, and he's like followed them on his ship or however he's got there, and he's basically saying, oh, that place you robbed before, he kind of gives it up that he kind of let slip the leads that led them on to rob that place, and he was using that as kind of like a test to test kind of their abilities because he wants them to rob something else. So basically he wants them to rob like a kind of British Empire vault on this island where there's something really valuable in it, which he wants. And he basically says there's a deposit box inside this vault. You can keep whatever the treasure you want, whatever you steal. There's a deposit box. Don't open it. Just bring it back to me. That's all I want. So after a bit of time, obviously Margot Robbie goes back, talks to Chris Pine, and like, okay, cool, yeah, we'll do this, but we can't do it alone. We need to put together like some kind of team, like a Suicide Squad kind of thing. So I've got like a Margot Robbie Suicide Squad vibe going. Yeah. So they put together a team of really cool characters. So my next person I'm casting, because I think it'd just be really cool as a pirate, is going to be Kit Harington. I just think all the people I'm going to cast are just people I just think would be really cool as pirates. So I've got Kit Harington. My next person is going to be Carl Urban.
Billy Butcher.
Billy Butcher himself. I just think he could be an amazing pirate. He's used his natural accent again because I think that'll just be wicked. And then the next person I've got after that is Andy Serkis, who's going to have his natural British accent. And obviously, I think Andy Serkis is just brilliant in any role, and I think he'd be just fantastic as a pirate. And then to round out the cast, I've got Ruby Rose as the final cast member of the squad. So I think they'd all just be fantastic pirates. And obviously, they've all been amazing in the roles they've had. obviously famous actors. So they assemble this kind of squad, and there's some scenes of them like picking up each member, kind of like putting together the squad, showing how cool they are. And obviously each squad member's like an expert in something. Like, there's a lockpicking person. Like I think Kit Harington could be the lockpicking person. Carl Urban would be like the explosives guy. Andy Serkis would be like the what do you call it? Like the smooth guy who like talks to people and gets you into places, things like that. And Ruby Rose can be like, the actual like gun expert or something. So that kind of thing. They're a squad and they've all got like their speciality. So they kind of put the squad, set sail. So they're on the ship, and then they're like, okay, cool, like guys, let's make a plan. And then Margot Robbie's like, no, listen, I make the plans for this team. Like no one else is involved. Like I'll do it. You guys don't worry about it. And so she walks off and like goes into like her captain quarters and locks the door. And then everyone's like, so you kind of think at this point, okay, like she killed off the rest of her old crew like really easily. So she's probably planning something like that again. She won't even let them be involved in the planning process. And they're kind of like looking at Chris Pine, thinking like, oh, is he involved? Blah, blah, blah. Like, why is she moving the plan by herself? All that stuff. So anyway, they make the plan. They go to this hidden vault. They obviously rob it. There's going to be like a big heist scene where they get in, like things go wrong, and like things go right, and they manage to get in anyway. And then I think like basically what's going to happen is like most of them will survive. That Margot Robbie doesn't screw them over. It's like it's just that she like plans it so that they all get out alive. Even though you think at some points like they're going to be like double crossed, like you never know. But anyway, they escape. They get the deposit box. Then as they're escaping, they get back on the ship. But then they notice another ship is following them. So then that ship kind of comes, and we get like a ship battle, like a Pirates Caribbean ship to ship battle. And we see the person piloting that, sailing that other ship, not piloting, is Giancarlo Esposito. So he's the other person. Then they start a fight with him, and then another ship appears and starts fighting with that ship. So there's like a three-way ship battle. And we see that ship is Christoph Waltz. That's his ship, and he's come to try and claim what's his. Basically, there's like a three-way fight, and the men from the other two ships kind of killing off the squad that are dying. And so then Margot Robbie kind of gets Chris Pine, and she's like, we're gonna die, like, and he's like, we need to save like this box, and we need to like get away, like get on a skateboat or something. And she's like, no, I've got something more valuable in the captain's quarters. You need to run in there. So like this crew kind of sacrifice themselves and hold them off. They run back into the captain's quarters for a second. And she's got like she's like, if I go down below, there's like a rowboat thing you can just escape, like slip out while all these three ships are fighting each other. So he's like, no, you come with me. And she's like, no, I'll go back up. And then she's got a plan to like blow up the ship. And he's like, you escape. And he's like, no. And she's like, no, you have to take what I've got that's more valuable than this box. So she gives him the box, and then she also opens like a secret compartment in in the wall or something, like a sliding bookcase or something. And there's a small kid there, like a small boy, and he's like, what the hell? And she's like, this is like just some small kid like hidden there, which she's been hiding there like the whole film. So that's why, like, at the beginning of the movie, she wouldn't stay off the boat for too long. Like, she's like, I'm going to go back to the boat to sleep. So there's been like some small kid she's been hiding there, which is basically like a son. So he takes him, and the kid basically just doesn't talk. And he's just got like some small like things with him, like a little bag or something. And Chris Pine's like, what? Like, you've been hiding this all the time? And then she's like, yeah. Like, and it shows you that. So he takes the kid, they get on the rowboat, they like sail away, they just get away. Margot Robbie was back up to the top, and you see like Christoph Waltz and Giancarlo Esposito are like fighting each other. They want to get the box, and then basically Margot Robbie like blows up the ship, kills like all of them. Then like at the end we kind of see Chris Pine, he kind of gets to land, and he takes this little kid, and then they're looking at this box. And they're kind of like looking through what it is. They can't open it, and they find it open, and he looks inside, and it's just like a map. Chris Pine's looking like, oh, what's all this trouble like just for this map? And then basically he's trying to read it, and he's like, what does this say? And the kid hasn't said anything. And then he goes and reads. He looks at it. He reads the map, and he's like, it says Island of Muerta or something. I can't
Isla
remember
de
what it
Muerta,
says.
yeah.
Isla de Muerta, right? So he goes, he's there, and he goes, what? You could talk? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, and he looks at the kid, and the kid's got loads, like, he takes his things out of his bag, and basically all the plans that Margot Robbie made for all their heists, this kid brought them with him in his little bag, and he's got like little drawings on it, like kid writing, and basically he made all the plans for these heists. He was like his plans, and then he's like, "What's your name, kid?" And he's like, "Jack." So the twist at the end is that he's Jack Sparrow. So that's kind of the end of the movie. That it sets up for, like, obviously it basically sets up that it's a prequel to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
It's Jack Sparrow was he that's how he grew up. He was the kid on the boat. That's why he's so sick of being a pirate. He planned all these heists. That's why he's so inventive. And then basically that's how he gets the map. And then our post-credit scene is just on abandoned island, and we see Christoph Waltz and Giancarlo Esposito kind of crawl out the water, out of the beach onto a beach, and they're kind of looking at each other. So obviously, the supply of the explosion, and it's like close to night, and they're just like closing up, and they're just like crawling out of the water, and they look at each other, and they like, and they like both take out pistols and shoot each other like at the same time. They both get shot and they fall down, and then we see it's like completely night, and the moon comes out, and then they both stand up again, and they're just, the pirate ghost bone things.
Yeah.
They're both cursed by the treasure. So basically, at the beginning of the film, they were looking for the original treasure where it was originally hidden, and they stole it. And that's why they're cursed. And then one of them hid it and left a map, and the other guy was trying to get that map.
Right.
So that's basically the story. And yeah, so then it sets up for, and then Chris Pine is going to be, I think he's going to have a different name in this film, but at the end he's going to be Gibbs.
Chris Pine's going to become Gibbs.
Yeah, he's going to become Gibbs. Yeah, Mr. Gibbs.
Okay.
So basically that sets up everything. So he's going to become Mr. Gibbs. Yeah, the kid is obviously Jack Sparrow, and them two guys, that'll be like a sequel. That'll be their story where they get uncursed or something or whatever. They're like the original people who stole the treasure, and then took it to the island in Muerta, and then that's where, like, Jack, obviously the story in the first Pirates of the Caribbean is that Gibbs says then Jack was capturing the Black Pearl, and he then went and stole the treasure, and they all got cursed or whatever.
Yeah.
So that is my pitch.
Okay. I tell you what, I liked the twist at the end. I was a bit annoyed that you killed off Margot Robbie. Like, I thought she was supposed to have been lead the franchise, and like, you got a female lead and you just kill her off.
I know, I did kill her off.
Oh my god! But I mean, if it's ghost tales and pirate stories, I'm sure she could come back as a ghost in the sequel, or like, undead or something.
It's a franchise. I might take the Marvel route and just bring her back. However, do a low key.
I mean, yeah, in the third one, there's a reference to his mum, isn't it? Because obviously his dad's an active character.
Yeah, his dad's in it, but his mum they don't actually show.
Yeah, she's like that burnt tiki doll, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is, I think, going to be that. So he'll meet his dad later on. It's like the thing, so his dad can be in like the second film, but they don't show you who he's in this. So basically, his mum looks after him.
Yeah.
And then
I think there's a lot of potential to explore that romance between Jack's parents, though. Especially if Margot Robbie or Jack's mum is just like dead half the time. I think that would be pretty cool.
But yeah, so basically Chris Pine is going to be, he would come back for the sequel hopefully. But if he didn't want to, like, obviously Gibbs isn't essential for the story, but he's basically Jack's best friend essentially.
Yeah.
Into
no, I
pirates.
like it. You sort of. I tell you what, I was a bit unsure because it didn't feel like a pirate movie. It genuinely just felt like a heist, like a Suicide Squad movie.
It is a heist movie, but it's a heist movie set during Pirates, because I didn't want to do another classic adventure Pirates thing. I wanted to switch it up a little bit, so I thought, how can I do that? Okay, heist.
I mean, I really like the bit at the start where the Nolan-esque sort of the initial heist where they're killing each other off and they're turning on each other. You could really make it really suspenseful, isn't it? And throughout the film, like you mentioned, how they keep thinking that Margot Robbie's going to kill the rest of the crew. So yeah, it could be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I'd hope it would be good. This film will definitely be better than whatever they do make, obviously. um, but yeah, I obviously killing off Margot Robbie is a tough decision, but I think it just works as the end of the film, her sacrificing herself so that her son can live. Um, so that's basically why I had to do it. You could switch it up that Chris Pine had sacrificed himself, but I want him to be Gibbs, so I basically picked him because I thought he could look like an old Gibbs, like a young Gibbs. So that's basically it. Yeah.
Well, do you know what would be cool? Maybe if you had Margot Robbie, instead of her dying, she's trapped on the island with Christoph Waltz and Giancarlo Esposito, because then that gives Jack a reason to go back to Isla de Muerta, isn't it?
Perhaps.
In the first instance, rather
Perhaps.
than just treasure hunting, like he wants to go and save his mum, isn't it? Who looked after him. Um,
Maybe, but I do want to get that kind of cutthroat nature in Jack that he does have. So I don't want to make it too heartfelt that he's trying to save his mom, because then he becomes too much of a good character, I guess. He's still a pirate.
all right. Okay. Cool. No, I mean I liked it. Yeah. Nice.
Thanks, man. Well, guys, let me know in the comments below what you all thought, how amazing my pitch was, and now we'll if you're ready for yours, we'll hear it.
Cool. Yeah, so I think probably just a bit of a disclaimer. One, I'm like a Pirates of the Caribbean super fan, and number two, I did actually write out this pitch prior to us recording this episode, so mine might be a bit like as in a bit more vivid in terms of what actually goes on, because like I say, it's all been written out. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't take away from it too much, and you can still enjoy it. But cool, let me just begin then. So yeah, I said the basic film begins at night. We're on board a ship. You see a British commander called Richard Bannister. He works for the East India Trading Company. You can see, like the East India logo and stuff. And he's basically having a report read to him about a register of slaves. And it's confirmed that they basically have like 150 different slaves on board that they've captured. And the camera pans to, all these like sort of multicultural different slaves from, the Caribbean islands. In the brig with shackles around the neck, really cooped up and, looking despairingly at each other. Then the ship arrives to a dock on an island, and the British captain, so is that Richard Bannister, so he greets an obvious-looking pirate, right? So you can definitely tell this guy's a pirate, and he tells him, "Look, I've got your order," and he tries to leave. But a captain, so this guy, he's Captain Charles Vane, and he's going to be played by Vincent D'Onofrio, who is
great casting, mate. Great casting.
Recognize him from Kingpin from Marvel's Daredevil, or Netflix's Daredevil. So as Richard Bannister's basically trying to leave, he basically forces him to stay, and he wants to do a bit of exposition as to why he's asking for this slave. And basically he believes there's a curse called something called the Curse of the Liberty Flame, which means that there's a ship which is supposed to be the strongest ship ever made, and it's called Lowe's Fancy, which is basically supposed to be practically immune to damage by fire or cannonball. And basically the only way to find the ship is by following a map, which is going to be bestowed by something called the Liberty Flame. All right. And so they've got the Liberty Flame, but now he feels that obviously you have to give up a man's liberty to get access to this map, which is why he wants to sacrifice all these slaves into it. And so you have this really sort of dark scene of this guy continuously just throwing slaves into this fire, trying to get some sort of signal coming out of it. And after about 40 slaves have been thrown into the Inferno, the next slave who sort of turns up is played by Jacob Anderson, who actually played Grey Worm in Game of Thrones. And his name's Mufa, and he sort of steps up to be thrown in next. And you can hear the sort of screams of the slaves burning, as he's stepping up towards it, and he's obviously really scared. And then the Liberty Flame basically bursts into a huge inferno, and it imprints a map right onto this guy's back. And in the midst is sort of total chaos and destruction. And so this Charles Vane, who's obviously Vincent D'Onofrio, he rushes in to grab the slave Mufa, but he fights back and he hits Vane in the head with his wrist shackle, really sort of which is scorching hot at this point. So it's imprints a huge burn onto Charles Vane's face. And then some of the other slaves, obviously, like there's total pandemonium. Some of the other slaves trying to run in between him, and essentially Mufa, he manages to escape, and he manages to sort of run, jump into the sea and just basically swim away. And once all the sort of chaos settles down, you have this captain, Richard Bannister, who works for the East India Trading Company. He's confronted by Captain Vane, who now has a huge burn across his cheek, and he basically tells him that he's keeping the remaining slaves and withholding payment until he finds him that runaway slave. And this is when sort of the camera pans up and the title reveals that, yeah, this is Pirates of the Caribbean 6. So cool. Now the scene opens and we're in sort of middle of a battle between two pirate ships. The first is helmed by Margot Robbie, whose character is a pirate called Anne Bonny. And she's trying desperately to outrun the other ship, right, which is firing at her. And she gets some distance between her and the pursuing ship, but she's struggling to maintain this since she's really the only one on board doing anything. And there's one other person on board who is locked up in the brig, and this character is John Calico Jack Rackham. So he's played by Oscar Isaac. So yeah, his nickname's Calico Jack. So sort of just be referring to him as Jack or Calico Jack throughout. And so he's being really sarcastic and patronizing towards her about how they're going to get caught and how they're going to die, and that she needs to let him out so he can help her. And eventually she does let him out. And after sort of a few cool, pirate chase scene action shots, they manage to get away from the chasing ships. And then with Anne at the helm, Calico Jack exhales and he says, "See, I told you I'd get us away from them." To which Anne nods her head, and then she basically spins the wheel so that the sail knocks Calico Jack overboard. When he makes his way back on the board, angrily claiming that this is his ship, and she just does the same thing again. So you tell that she doesn't like him. And then I thought maybe there'd be a bit about her talking to like the ghost of her late husband or something. Who I thought maybe could be played by Benicio del Toro or something. And just talking about how you're going to need him or something. You can't sail the ship alone. Cool. So she basically she pulls up the lifeboat expecting to pull up Calico Jack, but to her surprise, instead of Jack being on board, it's this slave Mufa. And as she pulls him on board and sort of she flips him onto his stomach, she sees that there's basically a map that has been sort of tattooed on his back, and so obviously he's been imprinted from that flame. So these are all burns. At which point Calico Jack makes his way back on deck. They have some more banter between themselves, and essentially, they decide that Anne Bonny is in charge, and she decides that what they're going to do is they're going to go to Port Nassau, and where they're going to sort of sell this slave for some money. So upon arrival at Port Nassau, Anne and Jack dock their ship, and they set about to find a buyer for Mufa. So they come across a so-called witch called Mary Reed, who is going to be played by Aubrey Plaza, who's from Parks and Recreation and a few other films. And basically, she's got 3 men with her as part of her crew. And basically, the funny thing about these characters is the crew members are basically convinced that she's a witch, but she's claiming that she isn't. And when they ask why the guys aren't leaving her, they think she's a witch. They basically say we're too scared that she's going to curse us or something. Cool. So Anne and Jack, they try to move along to try and find a buyer for their slave. When this witch, Mary Reed, recognizes one of the symbols on Mufa's back, and she recalls the story of Captain Edward Lowe and his dreaded ship the Fancy. And then there's a bit of like a ghost tale, old pirate story, basically explaining what the curse was and how this guy ended up being cursed, etc. And sort of while that's all happening, word basically gets around Port Nassau that there's a slave with a tattoo on his back, and everyone's basically aware that there's a huge reward because the East India Trading Company officer Richard Bannister has put up wanted posters for them, and so again you get a huge sort of pirate brawl aboard Port Nassau of everyone just trying to claim him for himself. And then ultimately, so Anne and Jack almost get away until Mary Reed and her crew basically capture them. So they take them on board to their ship, and obviously they have them tied up in the brig. There's some more banter, between Anne and Jack about who the real captain is. And then, at this point, Captain Richard Bannister and his ship dock next to them, and they come on board. And his ship is called the Revenge. So he comes over. He says, hand over the prisoners, gives them the reward. Mary and her crew sort of make way, and then Bannister steps out to talk to Mufa. At which point Anne, so this is Margot Robbie's character, is interjected, and she's really trying to be a lead, like a real sort of pirate type, right? So she's like, no, you got to talk to me, like you can't, he's part of my crew, you can't get anything. And at this point Richard Bannister's really talking about how cruel of a pirate that Charles Vane is. So he's like, since he left, he's sort of beheaded like 17 slaves and put their heads on pikes that he keeps around in his ship. And the remaining 90, he's keeping them as, slaves and prisoners and sort of really just torturing them in the brig of his ship. At which point Mutha mentions that he's going to find this treasure, this sacred ship, and he's going to use it, and he's going to basically fight to get justice. And basically this whole time while this conversation is going on between Richard Bannister and these three on board, Mary Read and her crew have actually commandeered the revenge ship that Richard Bannister sort of used to get here, and they fire a cannonball, and again you get a huge sort of pirate ship battle with Anne Bonny fighting Richard Bannister, and eventually them making their escape and stealing Richard Bannister's ship, the Revenge. And they managed to get away with Mary Read, her crew, Anne Bonny, Calico Jack, and Mutha the slave. And ultimately they decide that cool, we're gonna we're finding our way to get the the sacred ship that we thought. So they follow the map on Mutha's back, and you sort of have another bit of a sort of argument scene between them, a bit of banter, and cool. Eventually they decide, right. So meanwhile, now you see Richard Bannister. He's sailing back to Charles Vane aboard like a rickety, destroyed ship, and he boards Charles Vane's ship, which is called the Lark, and you sort of see the severed heads of the slaves on the pikes surrounding the ship. And he sort of informs him that these guys are basically going to find the treasure that you want. To which Charles Vane says, take this ship that we're on right now, the Lark, and use it to try and intercept them. And Bannister's a bit surprised. You're just going to give me your ship. To which Charles Vane says, it doesn't really matter. This is just sort of one of the many ships I have. And you essentially get a sort of panning shot of Charles Vane's three more ships on the horizon. You look at them, there's like a ship with the slaves on board. There's another one which is like a 12-gun brigantine. There's another one which is like a 24-gun sloop. So you really see sort of the fleet that he's got. Cool. And then you return to the ship that our main set of characters are on. They've arrived at an island, and they need to get off to follow the rest of the map. And Calico Jack, obviously being the coward that he is, he doesn't want to get off the ship. So him and Mary Read's crew stay on board, and you just have Anne, Mutha, and Mary Read really going and trying to find this. And again, you have a bit of exposition, where a bit of character building, where you're discussing and understanding some of the backstories behind these characters and what it really means to them. Until they basically trip a booby trap and they fall down a sort of intricate series of mudslides, and ultimately they sort of crash on the ground and with a huge thud, and the screen goes black. Then you open back up and you see Calico Jack walking through this jungle / rainforest type thing, and the camera slowly pans to reveal there's a pistol pointed at his back, and it's actually Richard Bannister who's forcing him to show him where the others went. So he's caught up to him and he's sort of forcing them find me where they went. Cool. And then you return back to where our main characters are knocked out on the floor, and they're waking up, and essentially this is now another one of your big sort of Pirates of the Caribbean intricate sort of puzzle scenarios. And really, what do you have? You have sorry, I'm just double checking my notes here.
No, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Yes, so there's Mutha, the slave Mutha. He's standing in a pit. Anne and Mary basically run towards him, and basically they trip another booby trap, and the camera pans up to show there's like a system of interlocked poles and small boulders like right above where he's standing, and basically the trap dislodges one of the poles, and one of the small boulders rolls out from it, and basically a stream of water shoots out, and very quickly you can tell that if you trip enough of these booby traps, then it's basically like a dam, and it's going to end up flooding where Mutha's standing. And to make things worse, just to add to the absurdity of it, there are a bunch of crocodiles on the other end of that pit that Mutha's standing in, right? Which makes it even worse. So they basically have to work together to try and solve the puzzle to eventually get there and basically try and save Mutha. And as you can imagine, sort of the closer they get in, more sort of streams of water are shooting out until they get to just that final one. And it's basically a choice of two panels, which they need to, one of them is going to trip the final booby trap, and one of them is going to be the right way to go. And what would you expect? They take a step forward, and there's silence. And it looks like they made it, but obviously it's a Pirates of the Caribbean film, so no, that final boulder gets dislodged, and now this so much water basically gushing down and flooding Mufa. At which point they realize we've got no choice, so they run into the pit that he's in, and they basically have to run towards where the crocodiles are on the other side. And obviously you can imagine as the pit is flooding as well, the crocodiles are obviously able to swim about and start coming towards them. So you just got another crazy scene of these guys running, sort of stepping on crocodiles, trying to escape the pit. And eventually it
have real crocodiles or CGI crocodiles?
I think it's going to have to be CGI. I'm not sure how you're going to get real crocodiles to just stand there and let people walk all over them. But yeah, essentially, yeah, they managed to get to the other side, but there's so much water that it sort of floods and sets them on a jet stream, propulsion down the whole jungle. And as they're sort of flooding through, riding this basically tidal wave, they run into the others. Like Calico Jack and everyone, and basically everyone comes crashing, and they just end up basically in the middle of a cave. And yeah, so Richard Bannister gets up, and he's the only one with the shot with the pistol, and he's ready to kill them and take them back. But when they sort of notice the symbols and they realize, we're so close to, we might as well actually see if we can find this thing. And then you sort of have a bit of them. Sorry, I know I'm running quite a bit, so I'm going to try to sort of round it off. We're close to the end now. But yeah, they keep walking. They go down the grave until eventually they do come to this ship, right? So the fancy that they've been talking about, Captain Lowe's fancy. They all sort of they all board the main deck. And Richard Bannister, he starts monologuing, about how much power he's going to have now that he controls the strongest ship, that's ever been. And then basically, yeah, the skeleton crew on board the ship, basically they start to appear. And yeah, a fight basically breaks out. These guys fighting for their lives. So you have some of the characters jumping overboard, and very quickly they realize that if you jump overboard, these guys can't leave the ship. But then after the first few characters jump overboard, basically you have like flames that they activate, like lamps, stopping them from jumping overboard. And so you just have this sort of really cool sort of scene of our main characters basically trying to go to the other side of the ship, because that's where the captain's captain's quarters are, and they realize also that these skeletons and ghost crew can't board that. So yeah, as they're doing this, they're trying to continuously as a team move until eventually they get on board there. They're laughing and they're exhaling. At this time, Richard Bannister's basically been left behind. So yeah, they're all happy now, and they're all sort of happy and like, yes, we done it, we made it, they can't touch us. And then you just hear the captain's quarters, the door just slam open, and the actual Captain Edward Lowe basically comes out of the quarters.
This guy.
Right? Yeah. So this is like a picture of it, and like he's just gonna be like really decayed. Yeah, he's just gonna be really decayed and with stitches all over them. And he basically, he asked the four of them, who's captain. And then throughout the film, there's just sort of been running banter between Anne and Calico Jack about who the real captain is, isn't it? And eventually sort of
building it up, yeah.
Yeah, eventually like Jack steps forward, isn't he? Like, no, I'm the man, I'm the guy who has to be captain. He obviously can't be Anne and Bonnie. So he steps forward, and then like he just dashes forward and just jumps off the ship because he's just absolutely crapping himself. And so they call him a coward. And now basically Anne has to step forward, and so as she's stepping forward, you can sense something bad's about to happen here. That's when Richard Bannister like finally makes it onto this part of the deck, and he says, no, I'm the one who's going to obviously get all this power. I'm the captain, and yeah, basically, you can probably guess what happens. This Edward Lowe, he's not a nice guy, and he ends up killing Richard Bannister, and like he uses a loophole to the curse to basically allow himself to basically sail out of where they've been trapped. And so they start sailing out with the rest of these guys basically prisoners on board. And then you just sort of they're sailing out, they come into open water, and then the Revenge, which was the initial ship that they've been using and they've been docked, that basically comes and it shoots a cannonball, allowing our main characters to make their escape, jump overboard, right? So they're cool, they got away. But sort of now you see this main ship, this pirate ship, this ghost ship that we're on, and you see Charles Vane on the horizon with his 3-ship fleet basically coming towards him, right, with all these huge guns and everything. And yeah, essentially he realizes that, cool, if I can't have it, then no one can. And he basically launches a huge onslaught onto this ship. But as the story goes, it's basically like an indestructible ship. So after all, you just see flashes on the screen, and then once it sort of fades back to the picture, you sort of just see Vincent D'Onofrio's character laying dead on a piece of plywood and in the middle of the ocean with like 3 destroyed huge ships between it, and this guy sort of just sailing away. And yeah, and obviously the closing scene is our main characters on the ship. And they realize what they've done. They've just unleashed like this huge calamity onto the open seas. They've let him free. Calico Jack has managed to escape with one of the other ships, so they don't know where he is either. And yeah, everyone's basically really upset, and they realize that we need to do something to stop this guy. And that is the end of the film.
Great pitch, man. Great pitch. That's yeah, that was good. I got a few questions.
Yeah, go
I
for
think. Number 1, during that end scene, does anyone say, "Look at me, I am the captain now," or do they
No.
not?
No, unfortunately they don't. Even though there's like 3 different switches of who the captain is, but no, that'd be a good line to add.
Did you come up with all the pirate names by yourself, or are they real pirates?
No, yeah, so they're real pirates. That's why there's a few things in there. So
Okay.
like the number of slaves that he has. That's like one of the stories of like Charles Vane. He had like 90 slaves in his with him. And then Anne Bunny and Mary Read, they're like actual famous pirates, and they both
Right.
sailed on like Calico Jack's crew, and he's just like a pathetic pirate, right? He's like not
Right, you
his
switched up. Yeah, that's pretty good.
claim to fame is that these guys sailed on his boat on his ship. So like, the idea is that obviously because the others are women, they're not going to believe that the women actually did anything, and they keep saying that Calico Jack is
I
the
get
one
the
who's
point,
done all this. Yeah, so to play on
Wicked.
that.
My next question is a 2-parter.
Mm.
Was your movie written by the guy who wrote National Treasure, and why wasn't Nick Cage in your movie?
No, you think where were the parallels to National Treasure?
I don't know, man. As your film kind of unfolded, it felt like National Treasure, especially towards the end, with the like breaking into the like kind of solving puzzles, kind of to get to the treasure, and then like the bad guy appearing and then forcing one of the other people to lead him to the treasure, and then them kind of double crossing him at the end to get away. All that, it's very National Treasure. It reminded me of Uncharted a little bit as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's not.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. National Treasure is a good movie.
No, I mean, I know how I sort of pitched it and how I can understand how it might have come across like that. But the whole idea is this sort of villain at the end, he's supposed to like really raise the stakes. So up until now, these guys have just been sort of running about and not really like being serious and sort of always just sort of bantering among each other, not really not really efficient or not really sort of ruthless or anything. And this guy sort of comes on and just sort of completely changes his stake. He sort of murders someone in cold blood and sort of absolutely just sails out, destroys like the big bad villain at the start of the film, and he just makes him look like he's absolutely nothing. So yeah, it's not. Yeah, I understand what you mean, but yeah, this guy, he's supposed to really sort of, notice how it started off quite dark right at the start.
Yeah.
And it's really light towards the middle. It's supposed to get really dark towards the end as well.
So what would your film be rated? Still a 12A?
I think I could get away with 12A maybe if I tone down the burning of the slaves and the severed heads on pikes around the ship. I think I could get away with a 12A.
Yeah, I mean the first Pirates of the Caribbean was quite a bit scary with the ghosts and everything.
Yeah.
Well, it was for me when I was a kid, so it was. Yeah, I think you could get away with it. But yes, awesome pitch, man. Awesome pitch. Do you have any kind of idea for who would direct your movie?
I don't actually. No, I've got no idea. I'm just going by like how the tone of the previous Pirates of the Caribbean films have been. So yeah, pretty much anyone. I wouldn't mind having like sort of Gore Verbinski come back either. So yeah. Other than that, no idea. What about yourself?
I had one idea for mine, but it's kind of more of a realistic. If this film actually got made, I could imagine this person making it. Mine would be David Ayer, who made Suicide Squad.
Okay, yeah.
Not just because of the Suicide Squad thing, but because it is a heist team squad movie. Margot Robbie is the lead, of course. But also it kind of has that kind of feel. I know he's not just done Suicide Squad, he's Training Day and other films such as that. He is a good director, writer. So I just think he would be quite good at it. And it's something a bit different. I don't think he's done a pirate kind of period kind of film before. So I was thinking David Ayer as my director. Other than that, I wouldn't. The film would have to change a lot, but I was gonna cast as an actor and director in my original draft. I had Taika Waititi as acting in it and as director. But then I felt like that would just take over the film, and it had to be.
It changes the tone of the film as well.
Yeah, it had to be his film, and I thought it just have to be. I mean, not saying he can only do comedy, because he can do great movie making, but I felt like it'd have to have that hint of his style, and he does have that comedic style, which would change it. So I got rid of him, and then I thought I'd go for a classic Hollywood staple franchise choice of David Ayer.
Yeah.
So that is
good, man. I think I think it's two pretty strong pitches, if I do say so myself. Sort of looking forward to see, the comments, what people preferred, if there's any sort of changes they would make, or if there's a clear preference, or last time we done the Justice League one, we had someone basically dropping their own version of how they would have pitched it. So
shout out to Prime Gaming.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to Prime Gaming. He left his own pitch. So guys, leave your own pitches if you want. We'll definitely try and come and respond to you in the comments. But obviously, let us know who you think was best, what you would change, who you would cast.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think was good, what was bad, and then let us know what you want to see next time, guys. We're open to any suggestions. We don't just do franchise movies. If you have a suggestion for an original movie you'd like us to pitch, let us know. We'd be happy to have a go at it. Any other movie ideas you have, any other ideas for the show? This is obviously still developing work, so leave your comments below.
Yeah, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully, we got more videos coming out soon, more regularly than our current average of one every 3 years. So yeah, I think cool. I think that's everything. Other than that, I guess that's us signing off.
Signing off, and I'll see you next time, guys.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.